began like any other year, with pomp and pageantry, filled with expectations and dreams. But mankind hadn't the crystal balls to consult to see what the year had in stock. Perhaps many would have celebrated with cautious optimism. That's not being the case. Wham! From nowhere, coronavirus hits mankind with a sucker punch in the stomach, sending a rush of bile into our mouths, killing our kids and kin across the globe. Come with Smart Delta Media team as we navigate through steps taken by Delta State government to defeat the virus.
With coronavirus ravaging our tenuous health sector as well as its socio-economic well-being, typically, Senator Dr. Arthur Ifeanyi did not wait to record its index case before taking proactive steps. In fact, the administration's efforts long before the advent of coronavirus have set the state on the path of sustainable health development and delivery to Deltans.
His Excellency the Governor has adopted an approach that I don't think any other states, has. This is in recognition of the fact that he is a medical doctor and one who understands the dynamics of the public health crisis that we are faced with. Now, the situation requires desperate measures. It requires critical decision.
Within the precincts of the Federal Medical Center FMC Asaba, an infectious diseases control facility had been developed by the Okowa'S-led administration long before the advent of COVID-19. However, with threats from the virus looming, the structure had to be modified to meet WHO standard to cater to patients who may be infected. Chief Medical Director, CMD of the FMC Asaba, Dr. Victor Osiatuma, on a tour of the facility with Smart Delta Media in tow, talked about the facilities and level of preparations.
This place was planned with general public health diseases in mind. The state government was being proactive when we brought up the idea that we could do something where special patients are treated. And the governor said, fine, let's get this isolation center ready for our patients who have any of them, monkeypox, Lassa fever, whatever it is. Not even COVID then could be managed here.
Our Excellency, Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa'S, a man that thinks beyond the surface of the earth. He's a man that history will live to remember because he is the author of this thing we are seeing here. He has made it possible to make sure we work without lacking anything.
Because COVID-19 literally took the world by storm, no one country was absolutely prepared for it. Evidence around the globe proves this was the reason there was a shortage of key equipment needed to treat COVID-19 patients, especially those needing hospitalization.
If you look in our center, we have all the equipment you need, from handling any case from the mild case where they do not need any oxygen therapy to even when they just need a little bit of oxygen therapy through the nasal cannula, to very severe cases where they will be needing the ventilator.
It is worthy of mention that the chief executive of the state, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa'S, being a medical doctor and conversant with standards required, visited the facility severally while in the making to make sure job specification was adhered to strictly.
We must clearly spell it out to those who are collecting. So we must not give from this alone. Yes.
With coronavirus infecting countries like raging wildfire, overwhelming better developed healthcare systems in Europe and America, it is commonsensical that a country like Nigeria with very weak healthcare delivery system needed to prepare twice as hard. With this knowledge, Senator Dr. Okowa'S, not wanting to be caught napping, swung into action and prepared another treatment and holding center within Asaba Specialist Hospital in readiness to whatever the virus may throw at the state. In tandem with his governance philosophy of staying on top of situations, he dutifully visited the facility to ascertain its state of readiness.
The rooms installed with ventilators and every other facility. And very importantly, there is a side room in which the nurses are able to completely monitor every activity going on in every room, which is really, really very good. They are fully ready, and the trained staff are fully ready, and I can truly say that this center is ready to receive any case.
Delta has always been a very proactive state. If you look at how much our governor has put in already in a very short time, you would know that we are way ahead.
Meanwhile, in response to government's plea to corporate citizens as well as wealthy individuals to lend a helping hand and donate materials to aid the fight against the virus because government cannot do it alone, it is heartwarming that responses have been pouring in. As at the time of going to press, 124 corporate and private citizens have responded, donating a collage of materials to government.
We are presenting the medical PPEs in view of what we have realized the doctors and other medical professionals are doing in this field, especially in this fight towards eliminate COVID-19. In view of these contributions that they make, we should make our own donations on behalf of MPDC and management to Delta State Government.
Company, they are sending this thing to boost and support the Delta State Government. This will go a long way cushioning the effect of COVID-19.
This 100-bed isolation center is a partnership between the Delta State Government and the National Youth Service Corps. I would like to thank the private sector coalition for COVID-19 for all that they've done, not just here, isolation center alone, but all the other support that they've given us as a state government.
2 more treatment and isolation centers were opened in Warri and Ogaram General Hospitals to cover both the South and Central Senatorial District. These are in addition to 12 zonal holding centers situated in scattered locations in the state. Trust Smart Delta Media Team. We have been to both treatment facilities to ascertain their readiness for the challenge.
His Excellency has graciously simulated the system, and the 33 kVA step down was activated. So now we have 90% BEDC light in this place. In terms of energy, we have no problem. Here we have 4 ventilators already, and they still have reserve in Asaba, in FMC at Okowa'S, and in the store.
Governor being a doctor, he's just been wonderful because he has been proactive in the steps that he has been taking, and we are following that lead. It is why, for instance, we already have an accommodation for doctors and nurses who will be looking after the patients.
It is worthy of mention that due to highly infectious nature of coronavirus, health workers in these facilities have been trained on how to respond and handle cases in such a manner as to avoid contracting the disease. Training is important in view of the revelation by the federal government that 113 health workers in Nigeria have contracted COVID-19 in the course of treating patients.
We were trained on infection prevention and control on COVID-19 and other public health infectious diseases. The training was wonderful because before now there are some information we lack, but with the help of the training we were well equipped to handle any infectious cases.
We had training of doctors and nurses from all departments in the hospital on infection prevention control and case management of Lassa fever and COVID-19. This necessitated us doing a hands-on, not just a theoretical training. Even those that were trained, we had to do continuous training.
To further boost the capacity of the state to test and treat positive cases of COVID-19, the Delta State Government, in partnership with Irua Specialist Teaching Hospital, set up a test laboratory center inside Asaba Specialist Hospital to serve Deltans and other neighboring states.
The state government is doing all that is possible to see that Deltans enjoy robust health at a time like this. And I will use this opportunity to appreciate His Excellency, who has given every support at every turn to see that Delta State is truly on top of his game.
I want to thank His Excellency, the Governor of Delta State, Dr. Senator Okowa'S, for bringing this laboratory here to help Delta people. This lab, as it's configured, can actually serve many states in the country because it had capacity to, at a go, 23 samples at once.
This is the first in a series of test centers that we'll be establishing here in Delta State. What this means is that we'll be able to ramp up our testing of suspected COVID-19 patients or samples, and that the results will also come out faster and within the shortest possible time.
Logistics was not forgotten, as the state also acquired a fleet of well-equipped ambulances to transport patients. All treatment centers have such well-equipped ambulances and are ready to deploy if need be.
We are going to be the communicating system between these treatment centers and their holding units. If people need to move from the holding centers to the treatment centers, that's where we come in. We have this high roof ambulance. It's built as a mini ward. The people in there can stand up, give IV lines. We have oxygen, we have monitors, we have suction machines.
Smart Delta. Admittedly, the status of coronavirus in Delta State today is different from the beginning. Since Delta is not immune to the global challenge, the state has unfortunately had her fair share of coronavirus positive patients. However, like a good leader, Senator Dr. Okowa'S did everything humanly possible to prevent this unfortunate situation. One proactive measure he took was to close down Delta borders with neighboring states in a statewide broadcast.
With effect from Wednesday, April 1, 2020, movement of persons, goods and services into, within and out of all parts of Delta State are hereby stopped.
He also announced further measures with regards to the economy and welfare package to healthcare workers in the front line.
We have taken certain steps in our state. Health staff have been trained to protect healthcare personnel and increase capacity. Personal protective equipment for health staff are in stock, and we have continued to scout for more. The state government has also packaged incentives for critical health staff who will be engaged in COVID-19 treatment and management.
Sequel to the border closure, high-ranking government officials have been staking out these borderlines to forestall compromise.
I've seen that a lot of work is being done by the task force that has been set in these two places, and I'm hopeful that this is the same thing that is going on in the other 11 places across the state. It's very tasking, but I know that it is something worthwhile. That there's a need for us to be able to limit the rate of spread And that is the reason behind the interstate lockdown in terms of movement.
Amidst the lockdown, a noticeable challenge was hunger. Majority of Deltans fall within the informal sector of the economy and therefore live on income from daily economic activities. To cushion the suffering of the people, a food bank was established from where palliatives were distributed to the most vulnerable in the state to ameliorate food and nutritional shortfalls.
I'm highly satisfied for what has happened, because as the governor remembered us, so God will remember him. And God will replenish him in many folds. God will bless the family. Wherever this money comes from, it will never go dry.
I appreciate the state government, which remember the poor in the village. We certify that this one they bring, we will divide it equally and everybody will enjoy it.
The adage that behind every successful man there is a good woman played out here as the governor's wife, Dame Edith Okowa, through her pet project, the O5 initiative, supported her husband by doling out palliatives to the vulnerable in the society.
Our Excellency Dame Edith Okowa, I want to appreciate her because this shows our passion for the people, our passion for the less privileged, because this initiative will speak of the fact that the government is not just there administratively, but they have passion to make sure that the people at the grassroots really are not in hunger and they are not in serious suffering.
The intervention is something that is very, very good. It shows how sensitive the government is, especially this one in particular, where Her Excellency called us, the different churches in our state, to come for something to give to the churches. And of course the vulnerable, it will go a long way to help them.
I'm appreciating the governor's wife, the Edith Okowa, for her to remember to send foodstuff to those of us who are in the grassroots. It's something to be commended.
As a follow-up, the government allowed markets to operate, but with conditions of selling in open spaces within the city centers and suburbs with strict observance to social distance and all hygienic protocols as announced by NCDC and government.
In this market, each customers that come, you wear your face masks before we attend to you. And we too will take precautive measures because they wash their hands at the entrance of the market before coming in.
It's a new innovation we need to live with. We can't help it. If that will keep us alive, okay. May God bless my governor, Dr. Okowa, for at least allowing us the freedom to move about and then trying his best to see how we can be free again. May God really bless him indeed and increase his knowledge and wisdom.
To further protect the people from the COVID-19 disease pandemic, the governor directed that face masks should be produced locally to make up for shortfalls in this vital piece of PPE. The lot fell on fashion designers the government has trained, known as stepreneurs. This was hailed by the stepreneurs as empowerment in the midst of a crisis.
We had to engage about 300 of children who actually graduated as stepreneurs in fashion design. They actually produced this 1 million face masks. Even when they produce it at a cheap cost, that we have been able to also empower them instead of just keeping them idle doing nothing. I want to urge Deltans to truly help us produce even more of this masks.
Governor Okowa is a visionary. He does whatever he says. And I feel very happy to be part of this program. This STEP program has helped to reduce poverty and crime because they are giving the youth an opportunity to work for themselves.
Our governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, I feel sometimes like he sees ahead of time things and he's prepared ahead of time. So we'll be saving ourselves a whole lot of billions importing these face masks.
In spite of these measures to stem the spread of COVID-19, Deltas hitherto single digits unfortunately rose to double. The governor thus extended the lockdown by another 2 weeks to minimize risks of contagion spiking out of control.
For all those who have obeyed as stay-at-home order, we want to thank you. I want to let you know that it's for the interest of the general good of all Deltans and Nigerians as a whole.
With a dusk to dawn curfew introduced, shops were locked and streets deserted. With sections of Nigerian public playing the ostrich that COVID-19 was a scam, it became pertinent to counter such falsehood. To this extent, Delta State government has been engaged in enlightenment campaigns on both electronic and print media. Also, town criers have been used in the villages, and even person-to-person education has been used on COVID-19 prevention measures.
We don't carry the message, come on. Okay, now. Our governor, he don't talk. Health people, they don't talk. About coronavirus, not be rumor, not for real.
Some persons are yet to believe that coronavirus is real. We are now telling them that coronavirus is real. It's not a mere rumor. There is need for us to help ourselves.
At the expiration of the second lockdown, the government relaxed some measures, but warned that it was no reason to be careless. On the contrary, strict adherence to already outlined protocols have to be enforced. One of such was proper wearing of the face masks.
There's a compliance. We know that what the government is struggling for is about our life. As we stand here, if we don't keep it, we take something home and spread it among our families. It's not good.
With this social distance is okay because everywhere is not crowded anymore. Like just this mask, now me putting it alone is not easy, but I don't have any other choice just to prevent the virus.
The level of compliance is very reasonable because this is something that was not expected. So there's a new normal, and a lot of people are not used to it, but for their own personal safety, I think people are trying as much as possible to comply.
Furthermore, operators of hospitality industries, restaurants and eateries have been asked to do in-room service for food for hotels, strictly takeaways for restaurants and eateries, while nightclubs, beer parlors and social gatherings remain closed. As usual, Smart Delta Media was out to find out the level of compliance.
Due to the pandemic, our bar and our restaurants are not operating for now. We are actually observing government's policy, and we distributed face masks to our staffs so that when our guests come in, they will know that we are observing the COVID-19 government policy.
We practice social distancing. For instance, we are supposed to be 2 on a normal day, but to observe the social distancing, we had to start working in shifts instead of both of us together. Governor Okowa'S has done so well so far. At least the rate at which the virus is spreading in other states, that's not the case of Delta State, so he's definitely doing good work.
Despite the challenge of managing this challenging pandemic, a sincere and conscientious effort will always shine through like a light at the end of the tunnel. This is the case with Delta State, as measures taken so far have attracted NCDC, who were in the state recently to see for themselves measures put in place by the government to fight the scourge.
We've been really impressed by the efforts of the governor, the level of preparedness, both in terms of how you've handled the few cases you've had, but in your preparedness for cases to increase. So Delta is prepared.
We are encouraged by what we have seen, and we really want to appeal to the people of Delta. The risks are still very high, so we really would like everybody to remain vigilant.
COVID-19 is far from over, but with a strong will from Deltans backing a responsible and accountable government, the people are optimistic they shall overcome as they strive together to build a stronger Delta.
The Delta State government is committed to building a stronger Delta
Whatever agitates your mind, ask it, and we will get you answers.
I would actually urge all Deltans and non-Deltans to continue to be in tune with the Smart Delta team because they're everywhere. It's important to get informed about what is going on in this state. If you're going to pass suggestions to us as government, your suggestions will be welcome. To know more about them, follow Smart Delta on their various links.
Send your questions to all our social media platforms with the hashtag #AskIt on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or text 0901 665 2274, airing on Channels TV, NTA Asaba, DBS, and DRTV.
Better run, come to Delta State. Come and see the good things where Okowa'S they do. You better run, come to Delta State. Come and see the good things where Okowa'S they do. I see a job and work creation in Delta, make the youth say them highlight. Okowa. I see good roads everywhere in Delta, make the people say them cola. Come live in Delta. Say me I say. Come invest in Delta. Come explore the potentials of our state.